Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another Destiny video. So, next week we finally get to experience the hard mode for King's Fall Raid. Of course, if you read Bungie's weekly update on Thursday, then you'll already know this, but in the event that you didn't, then this coming Friday, that's October the 23rd, at 10 AM Pacific and at 6 PM UK time, hard mode for King's Fall Raid will officially go live. There are currently no hints as to how the raid will change, but what we have been told is that the recommended light this time round is between 300 and 320. So as you can imagine, things are gonna get tough. It's also worth noting that as of the most recent 2.0.1 update, the database now lists some exotic items as being 330. Whether that extends to Legendaries too will of course remain to be seen, but given that right now the current max is 310, and the recommended light for hard mode raid is 300 to 320, then I'd imagine the cap will then be somewhere in the realms of 320 to 330. Especially when you consider that the recommended light is usually somewhere below the actual kind of max, given that the recommended light for normal is 290 and obviously the max is 310. So I'd imagine a new cap of 330 is within the realms of possibility. Bungie did also say that before the race begins, once again, they'll share some insights into the race design, so expect to see that next Thursday. It's also worth noting, however, that this time round, when building the raid, they actually built hard mode first and then scaled it back for normal. So make of that what you will, but I imagine either way we're in for a challenge. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's talk gear and items. After all, with a new difficulty comes new items, and this time round it's all good stuff. Previously, in things like the Vault of Glass or Crota's End, we've had the weapons and armor pieces spread across both difficulties. Vault of Glass Hard, for example, was our only source of the helmet, while Crota Hard was the source for some of the weapons. But ultimately, it was all the same loot. In King's Fall hard mode, however, there is a complete new set of gear, known as the Harrowed gear. That means a whole 4 new pieces of armor per class, the class item doesn't change, a complete selection of new weapons, a raid ship, some emblems, and maybe even a shader. So let's take a look at all of that. First up, the armor. As mentioned, this is referred to as the Harrowed gear. The set name remains the same, it simply has the Harrowed prefix. So for example, the Titan is the Harrowed War Newman set, the Hunter is the Harrowed Dark Hollow set, and the Warlock is the Harrowed, well, you guys have different names for each of your pieces, but you get the idea. Now based on what we currently know from the database, the main perks for these armor pieces appear to be the same. So they have the things like increased agility while torn, or running with a relic, etc. But I'd imagine the main draw for these items is simply that they'll likely drop in the region of 310 to 330. Assuming legendary items can still go to 330. If not, then 310 to 320. Either way, it'll be better than what we currently have and will up your light level even further. Also, it has a super cool black and green colour scheme. So yes, please give me this. And if you're a Monster Hunter fan, then this is clearly Braccadia's armor. Now moving on from there is once again a complete set of 9 Harrowed weapons. All the ones you know and love, just stronger this time round. And again, black in colour. Then after that, you also have this selection of emblems, which I can only assume correspond to the 4 bosses that you fight throughout. There's also a raid ship called the Agonach Carve, which looks absolutely awesome. And then finally, this last one is a bit of speculation, and also shout out to Destiny YouTuber I am Mr. Bo for bringing this to my attention, but there's this new shader called King's Pyre. It currently exists in the database, but not in the shader kiosk, and that kiosk usually shows you how to obtain all shaders. For example, the raid shader for normal mode is listed there even if you don't have it. Now of course, just because something exists in the database does not mean to say it exists in game, but given that this did show up when the 2.0.1 update dropped, it does well potentially hint that it could be included in hard mode, but just hidden from our view. And also take into consideration that it does have a very similar colour scheme to the Harrowed gear, and does also have King in the name. Crota's End hard mode had a different shade to normal mode, so here's hoping this is also on the cards. Either way, there's some really cool stuff ahead of us, and it'll be available next Friday. If you guys are as hyped as I am, then drop a like on this video and let me know in the comments down below what you think of this new hard mode gear. But aside from that, I'll of course have guides up for you next week for any new hard mode mechanics. And until then, thank you very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.